There's been a lot of discussion and debate recently about how news outlets have handled and covered the recent allegation against Joe Biden by Tara Reade, a woman who briefly worked as a staff assistant in Biden's Senate office. We're going to get to what she alleges he did to her back in 1993 in a moment. But first, let's talk about the criticism by some, particularly on the right, that the media has not applied the same standard to this allegation against Biden as it did the allegations against Judge Brett Kavanaugh when he was undergoing his confirmation process. We think that's a good thing. The media should not apply what seemed to be a Kavanaugh standard to Joe Biden. The media should not apply the same standard most applied to Judge Kavanaugh to Donald Trump. The media should not apply a Kavanaugh standard to any public figure. The blanket and absolute standard of simply believing all women is a notion we dismissed here on the show early on. The standard for the media in covering sexual assault allegations needs to be to report the facts, listen to the accuser, and give the accused full due process, both men and women. We were very clear about that on the show during the Kavanaugh story.
On cable news shows, you heard yesterday, experts opining, basically calling Kavanaugh everything but an attempted rapist. We should all sit back. We should wait. Many over the weekend on cable news convicted Brett Kavanaugh of attempted rape, and even some calling him a serial sexual predator, when in fact none of us know what happened.
It's not just Twitter, it's the media that's in a very serious position right now. And if you watch, 24-hour coverage of this story, you may see 4 or 5 analysts in a row being brought on to convict Judge Kavanaugh. There's a need for balance here, because the more that you put one side on, or if you have a focus group with Republican operatives in it, pushing the other side of the story, there are allegations here. They are not proven. There is the law, and there is a push for an investigation. These are the parts that we need to report. But if we're not careful, if the media as a whole is not careful covering this story, we're feeding into that very negative narrative that President Trump himself really drums up in his base, and that is fake news. This 3-hour block of time is a smear-free zone. If there will be no convicting of either person on either side on this show, and honestly, if there's smearing of Dr. Ford or Ms. Ramirez or Brett Kavanaugh on this show, you will be kicked off this set, because we're not doing that.
What we've seen the last week has made me want
all across the board
to call networks and put a D in front of the name of the so-called journalists that have already decided that Brett Kavanaugh is a rapist, or what was the serial sexual abuse. Oh, really? You know that? Do you really know that?
I feel like a lot of people are kind of going out on a limb and convicting Brett Kavanaugh or smearing the accusers, and it's happening in the media, and it's a struggle. I feel like in the media especially, we have two camps. Some who say it has to be believed and that's where you begin, and others who just want to report the story to see what's going to happen. I was extremely sad for politics and for the media throughout the day yesterday.
Well, it was the bias, actually. If you could not watch both of these human beings suffering the way they were suffering and not feel empathy for them, then you were so biased and you were so sold into your political side, and you so determined what you were going to believe, then
but the reaction
you shouldn't be reporting.
I hear what
there are a lot of Americans who are clearly concerned about what Judge Kavanaugh may have done to Dr. Ford. And we're listening to Dr. Ford's testimony a week ago. And in the interim, since then, what we've gotten is stories about Judge Kavanaugh maybe throwing ice cubes in 1985. And other stories like this that look to a lot of Americans, particularly Republicans, but I think even Democrats, like piling on and trying to take the man down.
I thought last week the untold story was just how biased top to bottom the press was on reporting this story. Mika also expressed real concerns about political commentators going on networks and calling Brett Kavanaugh a rapist. Columnists, respected columnists, calling him a serial sexual predator. And there didn't seem to be the pushback that there should have been from network executives, from opinion page editors. During Kavanaugh, and sometimes when you have scandal after scandal after scandal pile on top of each other, that journalistic standard is just brushed aside and ignored. It's just run over. Right. I mean, we can look back, and I hope somebody at a journalism school looks back at what happened during the Kavanaugh hearings and the low standards that a lot of journalists held themselves to and editors held themselves to, and what was published in a rush while the hearings were going on. There's a reason why the FBI needed more time to investigate, because quite frankly, a lot of journalists put a lot of garbage out there.
We were very strong about this, obviously, and honestly, very few others were. As for the allegations by Tara Reade, who briefly worked as a staff assistant in Biden's Senate office, she told the New York Times that Biden pinned her to a wall and sexually assaulted her in a Senate building in 1993. Reade also told the paper that she could not remember the exact time, date, or location of the assault, but that it occurred in a semi-private corridor in the Senate office complex. The paper also reports a friend said that Ms. Reade told her the details of the allegation at the time. Another friend and a brother of Ms. Reade said she told them over the years about a traumatic sexual incident involving Mr. Biden. A spokeswoman for Biden said the allegation was false. The paper also reported in their exhaustive investigation no other allegation about the sexual assault surfaced in the course of their reporting, nor did any former Biden staff members corroborate any detail of Reade's allegation. The Times found no pattern of sexual misconduct by Biden. The Biden campaign denies the entire account. Biden himself has not yet publicly addressed the allegation. He will do so for the first time when he joins us live at 8 Eastern this morning. Last week, video emerged of an unnamed woman that Reade says is her mother calling into a 1993 broadcast of CNN's Larry King Live, devoted to examining the culture of Washington, D.C. The woman claimed that her daughter had run into unspecified problems with a U.S. senator. She did not give a name. Earlier this week, one of Reade's former neighbors went on the record by name, vouching for Reade, telling Business Insider that Reade told her her account of being assaulted roughly 2 to 3 years after the alleged account. Business Insider reports the person is a Democrat who intends to vote for Biden this year. NBC News contacted this same woman, and the details of what she told NBC News that Reade told her do match Reade's account. NBC News has also spoken with Reade multiple times since she came forward with the assault allegation, and has also spoken with 5 people with whom Reade said she shared varying degrees of detail over time. 3 of those people said on the record that they do not recall any such conversation with Reade. A 4th person who spoke on the condition of anonymity said Reade told her about the alleged assault at the time. A 5th person, who also spoke with NBC News anonymously, recalled that Reade told her in the mid-2000s that Biden had been inappropriate and touched her when she worked in his office, but that she didn't detail the alleged assault. Reade said that she also told her mother, who has since died, and her brother, who has told The Intercept that he remembers having been told about an incident at the time. It's worth noting that Reade's brother first told some news organizations that at the time his sister said she had been harassed by Biden, but then went back to at least the Washington Post and ABC News to clarify that she told him it was an assault. Biden's campaign has repeatedly said the alleged assault absolutely did not happen. Again, he will be our guest in about 1 hour from now. Critics of Reid have pointed out that she waited 27 years to publicly report her allegation that Biden sexually assaulted her. They also note that after her nearly three-decade wait, Reid first told The Times last year that Mr. Biden had publicly stroked her neck, wrapped his fingers in her hair, and touched her in ways that made her uncomfortable, but then waited until this past March to add significant details to her allegation. President Trump yesterday was asked about the accusation against his expected general election opponent. Here is part of his response.
I think he should respond. You know, it could be false accusations. I know all about false accusations. I've been falsely charged numerous times.
Still, several allies of President Trump have taken to highlighting this recent allegation against Biden, including his son, Donald Trump Jr., who has repeatedly tweeted about it. But there is obvious political peril to that strategy, as it invites the revisiting of all of the allegations against President Trump, who has been accused of sexual misconduct and assault by more than a dozen women. By multiple reports, that number is 25 women. Trump has denied each of the allegations. Those women are Jessica Leeds, who alleges Trump reached his hand up her skirt and groped her while seated next to her on a flight in the late 1970s. Ivana Trump accused her then-husband of raping her in a fit of rage in 1989. She has since retracted that allegation. Kristen Anderson claims Trump reached under her skirt and touched her vagina through her underwear at a New York City nightclub in the early 1990s. Jill Harth alleges Trump pushed her against a wall, put his hand up her skirt, and tried to kiss her at a dinner at his Mar-a-Lago resort in the early 1990s. Lisa Boyne claims Trump looked up women's skirts and commented on their underwear and genitals at a 1996 dinner party. Boyne said Trump never made any such advance on her. Quote, "He was more interested in my opinion of who I think he should sleep with." Mariah Bellotto and Victoria Hughes, two Miss Teen USA contestants who claim Trump walked in on them while they were changing in their dressing rooms. Trump as much as admitted to engaging in this type of conduct in an appearance on Howard Stern's radio show. Temple Taggart McDowell alleges Trump, quote, "kissed me directly on the lips when she met him at the Miss USA pageant in 1997. Kathy Heller claims Trump approached her table at a Mar-a-Lago, introduced himself, and forcibly kissed her at a Mother's Day brunch with her family in the 1990s. Karina Virginia alleges Trump groped her as she waited for her car at the U.S. Open in 1998. Tasha Dixon and Bridget Sullivan, the two Miss USA contestants, claim Trump walked into their dressing rooms where female participants were changing and ogled them. Melinda McGillivray alleges Trump grabbed her buttocks while they were backstage during a concert in 2003. Natasha Stoynoff, a People magazine reporter who claims Trump threw her up against a wall and forcibly kissed her in 2005 at Mar-a-Lago. Jennifer Murphy and Juliet Huddy both claim Trump kissed them without their consent. Rachel Crooks alleges Trump kissed her on the mouth without her consent. Samantha Holvey, a Miss USA contestant who claims Trump personally inspected each of the pageant contestants individually. Nene Laaksonen alleges Trump groped her backstage at The Late Show with David Letterman in 2006. Jessica Drake accused Trump of grabbing and kissing her without her permission. Summer Zervos claims Trump assaulted her during a 2007 meeting. Cassandra Searles, a Miss USA contestant who claimed Trump treated herself and other female Miss USA contestants like cattle and had them lined up so he could get a closer look at his property. Alva Johnson alleges Trump kissed her without her consent at a rally in 2016. E. Jean Carroll accused Trump of sexually assaulting her in a department store dressing room in the mid-1990s. And Karen Johnson alleges Trump kissed her and groped her without her consent at a New Year's Eve party at Mar-a-Lago. Again, Trump has denied each and every one of these allegations. Joe Biden denies Reid's allegation that Biden reached under her clothing and penetrated her with his fingers. Trump bragged about groping women's genitals without their consent on that 2005 Access Hollywood tape, which surfaced right before the 2016 election.
I moved on her, actually. You know, she was down in Palm Beach. I moved on her, and I failed. I'll admit it.
Whoa.
I did try and she was married.
That's huge news, Sarah.
No, Nancy.
Yeah.
No, this was marriages. And I moved on her very heavily. In fact, I took her out furniture shopping. She wanted to get some furniture. I said, I'll show you where they have some nice furniture. I took her out furniture. I moved on her like a bitch, but I couldn't get there. And she was married. And all of a sudden, I see her. She's now got the big phony and everything. She's totally changed her look.
She's your girl's hot as in the purple.
Whoa.
Yes.
Whoa.
Yes, the Donald has scored.
Whoa.
Oh, my man. Wait, you got to look at me when you get out of your
Sets this up.
That is very
You give me the thumbs
Look
up.
at you. You are a
The thumbs up. You got to get the thumbs up. Can't be too happy.
else off first?
Yeah, let me.
It's very
You
funny.
got to give me the thumbs up.
You and I will walk out.
Oh, my God.
Maybe it's a different one.
Better not be the publicist. No, it's her. It's
Yeah, that's her, with the gold. I gotta use some Tic Tacs just in case I start kissing her. You know, I'm automatically attracted to beautiful. I just start kissing them. It's like a magnet. You just kiss. I don't even know. And when you're a star, they let you do it. You can do anything.
whatever you want.
Grab them by the. I can do it.
The pattern and the admission. I will be asking Joe Biden about the allegation against him when he joins us for an exclusive interview this morning at the top of the 8 a.m. hour. We're back in 30 seconds.
Thanks for checking out MSNBC on YouTube, and make sure you subscribe to stay up to date on the day's biggest stories. And you can click on any of the videos around us to watch more from Morning Joe and MSNBC. Thanks so much for watching.